Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining me in this video. I hope you're all doing well. So finally spring has arrived, and I've come out today to see if I can find any signs of spring. I feel that it's been very late this year. I think perhaps due to a lot of really wild storms that we've had, and perhaps some other factors too. Spring feels like it's been delayed. And so far, I've not ventured too far into this woodland, but I'm not really feeling that spring is all around me. There's definitely some signs, but I think I'm going to have to work quite hard today. I'm not out in optimal lighting. As you can see, it's quite a bright sunny day. There are not too many signs of spring. And it's not my ideal conditions for woodland photography, but that's probably a good thing. It means I'm going to have to work a bit harder, look a bit closer, and try and come up with some nice photographs. And I think for the last 7 or, well, probably actually 8 or 9 days, I've been spending all my time on a computer, mainly editing a backlog of photographs, but also doing some other photography computer related work. So I was going to come out today regardless if it was rain, hail or shine. I was going to be out today. But anyway, I think it's going to be quite challenging, so I need to look closely, work quite hard, and see if I can find any nice spring photographs. So what says spring more than some daffodils? And I found quite a nice collection here. Some are in a better condition than others, so what I'm planning to do is just have a little look around here and try and isolate one which I think will work quite well. Now, I'm not going to go in amongst these, I don't want to trample them down, but if I just carefully go around the edge and have a look, I'm sure I'll be able to find something, hopefully, that I can single out and will make quite a nice photograph. So I found a daffodil here which I want to take a photograph of, and it's this one here. It's at the edge of the collection, so I don't need to stand in any to take this photograph, and it's quite easy for me to single it out separate from the rest if I want to do so. The other thing I quite like is that the sun is rising. It's off in this direction at the moment, so the daffodil is being nicely backlit. It's got a nice glow to it. And when taking a shot like this, the position of your camera is extremely important, and having a screen which flips out so you can look down at it is hugely beneficial. Trying to set up a tripod here would just take too much time and be too difficult, and because everything's quite bright, I'm using a very fast shutter speed anyway, so I can take this one confidently handheld. So what I'm trying to do here is use the rear LCD screen, get the daffodil framed quite nicely in the shot, and I quite like to have the camera very low, and I'm trying to make the most of that blue sky that's off in the distance and some of the nice glow from the sun. So in terms of aperture, I'm going to shoot this one at f5.6 to get some nice out of focus in the background. And I'm going to be using a very fast shutter speed. It's 1/1600th of a second, so very fast. And I'm not too bothered if some of the highlights burn out, but looking at my histogram, it's not going to be an issue anyway. But I want a nice bright look to the sky. I want to make the most of the glow of the sun and the blue sky that's behind this scene. So I'm going to get the shot framed up, camera nice and low, looking up. Got a nice bit of sky in the top right of the image. Focus on the center and take the shot. Quite pleased with that one. Got to try and look for small details today, and try and take photographs that are going to work with the light that I've got. So I think this one will turn out quite nice. I found these leaves here on this tree which are rather interesting. They certainly caught my attention. They're showing some spring greens, and they're being beautifully backlit by the sun. And if I look beyond these leaves, we've got some nice trees as well, which I can sort of use for some out of focus framing and some background interest. I've also got the sun up to what I think is going to be up in the top left of my image, so there's potential here to get a nice glow, get a potential starburst as well in my image. And I'm just going to shoot this one handheld. Again, the shutter speed is going to be really high. There's a lot of dynamic range. It should be okay, and I don't mind just blowing out the highlights a little bit in a scene such as this. So I'll just get my camera set up here, and again I'm going to be pointing up here, trying to look up through these leaves, get the leaves in focus, blur the background, and try and capture some of the nice glow that I'm seeing here with my own eyes. And looking through the viewfinder here, the dynamic range is very high. There's going to be some dark areas, there's going to be some bright areas, but that's exactly what I want. I'm wanting to show the contrast between dark and light and really make these leaves stand out, and also the sun. So I'm going to get this one framed up. I've got a nice starburst effect going on with that sun. Focus, check focus on these leaves right in front of me here, and take that shot, and I think that's going to look really good. We've got the spring green, we've got the bright light, and quite a nice uplifting spring image, I think. So as I walk along in the woodland, I can hear lots of bird call, which is a telltale sign of spring. I've just seen a nice one land in the trees in front of me here. But other than that, as you can see in the woodland, quite a lot of the trees are still fairly bare. So there's not signs of spring everywhere, and I'm pretty convinced some of that's to do with the recent storms. But anyway, I just wanted to quickly mention regarding some of the shots I've been taking so far today. When you're pointing the front of your lens directly into the sun, or close to the direction the sun's coming from, you can obviously get some lens flare in your images. Now that's something you definitely need to be aware of as you're capturing them. There are some things you can do on location to try and remove or stop that happening or minimize that effect. But also you may well want to include that in your images. I'm a strong believer that there are no real rules in photography, so it's very much up to you, the photographer, the look that you're going for in your images. And I personally think in some scenes, photographing into the sun through some tree branches, incorporating some leaves and so on, I think sometimes lens flare can look quite artistic and add to the image. It creates a little bit of atmosphere. So I'll decide on that when I go home in post-production, whether or not I want to include lens flare, if it indeed is in some of my images. I did see it in some of them that I've been taking so far, so just something to keep in mind. It really is your choice as the photographer, and sometimes some lens flare isn't a bad thing. So on a day such as today with lots of blue sky, woodland photography is definitely challenging, and I'm out today to try and capture some of spring. But when you look at pretty much eye level and up and down a bit and look at the ground, there's not too many signs of spring. There's obviously some, but spring definitely isn't flourishing at the moment. It's definitely a few weeks late, at least where I live. And I'd be interested to know if that's the case where you live. Is spring late? Are you not really seeing the signs of spring yet? So at times such as this, when I'm wanting to photograph spring and there's blue sky, I've decided to look up and search for spring higher up. And just in front of me here, I'm seeing some signs of spring. A shot that's a little bit different, but I think could work. And I'll show you some video in just a second. This is not my composition. I've not even decided on a composition yet. I'm just showing you what I've spotted. So off to the left, the bottom left of the video as you're seeing it now, I've got this tree which is being side lit by the sun. It's sort of silver grey and there's some nice white spring buds coming out on it, and I think it looks really good against a blue sky. And then off to the bottom right and in this area we've got some spring green, much more signs of spring up there than there is down at the level where I'm at. So what I'm going to do here is have a look at this scene, frame up a potential composition. I'm going to shoot it handheld. Again, it's bright, my shutter speed will be high, and it's just so much easier taking these types of shot handheld than it is to try and get a tripod into the correct position and get it framed up, because small movements left, right, up, down with the camera really change your scene quite dramatically. But what is going to be very important to me to get a nice composition here is cloud cover. So ideally this is not going to make a good shot as you see it at the moment, even though it's not the composition that I'm hoping to get. The clouds are just not correct. Ideally I would be liking some clouds in this gap somewhere there, just to give the shot nice balance. So I'm going to get a potential composition framed up, be ready to take it handheld, and cross my fingers I get some nice clouds in the sky. With some patience and after some time passed, I think I eventually got some decent clouds in the background of that last photograph that I was taking today. On a day such as today where the sky is very blue, there's quite a lot of bright light, and unfortunately spring hasn't really appeared completely yet. It's always going to be difficult for photography, but I think that last photograph will turn out okay. But as always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, I hope you found it interesting, and I always appreciate people tuning in to watch, so thank you very much indeed. But for now I'll say goodbye, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one.